Hello, let's try the second half of this week's Aurora deep dive. 'Twas lucky last time, 'tis winter bird this time, which I just can't help. I just can't help but do it in a Scouse accent. Winter bird, it just very much suits the accent for me. And it's weird because hearing that in the headphones, it doesn't sound nearly as good as the Scouse accent I think I can do. It's a bit trash really, not very good. Ooh, that was especially bad. Never mind, I'm leaving that at the door. Let's get on with some more. Winter bird. Yeah, well, interesting. F, not a key I think we've had before. F as our root note. Now, I was watching Sore Hands, as I often do, another YouTuber, who starts every video, wow, 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 and it's tempting to do that myself, but so far not impinging on his originality there. But the thing he was talking about was keys and modes and tonal centers. Now this has led me to want to sort of talk about these keys. A key is a set of notes. His sort of dominion over what a key is leads him to believe that keys are either major or minor. So we either have F major or F minor. Okay, and that is the key, regardless of what the mode is. The mode then, in his estimation, is a version of that key, so same notes but with a different tonal center. Okay, so in a standard F major we'd have all the normal F major notes and F would be our tonal center, like that. Okay, basically we've just got more F than everything else rooting us down. But if we were in the Dorian mode of F major, then we would be using all the same notes, but we would be doing it from the tonal center of G instead, and this would give us a very different sound to the same notes. So my view on this is that it is a little bit of a much of a muchness. It doesn't matter. If you want to consider the key the dominant thing, that's totally fine. But I don't think the key, whether it be major or minor, is dominant. What I think of as dominant is the tonal center plus the mode applied to that tonal center. Okay, so rather than thinking of the mode as subservient to the key, I actually think of the mode as subservient to the tonal center. So our tonal center in this is F. So strictly not our key is F, but our tonal center is, and then we have both the aeolian mode and the Dorian mode on F. So we have the aeolian mode there, and we have the Dorian mode with one change, which is that. I might need to angle myself slightly differently because I hear quite a lot of noise from behind myself. How is this? Oh no, but then if I angle myself that way I get the audio of outside. Oh no, it's a catch-22. We've had a bit of a rearrange around here. Let's just go with that. You might enjoy sounds of the kitchen accompanying us today. Okay, anyway, yeah, so we've got two different modes, the same tonal center. I hope that all made sense. and we're going to see how that sounds. We've also got a very slow tempo. Lucky was a very slow tempo. Winterbird is actually a smidge slower. Let's hear it. Oh, okay. Already managed to lose the speaker. Interestingly, I didn't notice anything, and I'm listening direct from that. So it must have just been some argument between sources of audio. That's working though, so that's nice. Let's go down to what that was. Okay. I'm just going to mute myself for a moment. Okay, let's go. Oh yes, also let's change that to continuous view. There we go. Nice. So yeah, this intro, man, this intro. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Okay, well, I can't even hear that over the microphone right now, so I am actually going to mute the microphone so we can hear that. Cool. Interesting. Yeah, quite different to a lot of these intros. This one's much more ambient, has a lot of sort of soundscapey elements to it. Weird drums we haven't heard, just going bong. This scratchy up on the top C there, just tinkling, 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 tinkling. I've written a sort of shorthand in here, which is that it's meant to just trigger every demi-semiquaver, but that's not really what's going on there. It's a lot more variable than that, but it's got this scratchy intermittent signal. We've got this sort of pad giving us our one chord, our F minor chord, and then later on we get a lower bass note that comes in. We get our dorian note, the D there. Just that comes in from basically a weird sort of maybe a hang or some pitched percussion instrument. Anyway, it has an interesting noise, and then we have this kind of scratching thing, which is around about a G. So adding a little bit of extra stuff. So we're not just keeping on our tonal center, our one chord. We have the D extra, we have this G extra, which also has a little bit of a little bit of the flavor of an F sharp to it sometimes. This kind of thing. Scratching away. There is a kind of regularity to it, but it doesn't really, like when you're listening to it, the regularity is not what you're catching on to. But this, I guess, is a little bit more regular. This kind of it gets faster and faster as we get to this sort of climax, and then it dies away a little bit after that, and that happens twice, and we get then these piano notes to finish, which are actually not an F chord at all. Well, the E there, or the E flat. So if that's our main chord, it's sort of adding a seventh to it. Nothing too odd. With the D, it sounds a little stranger, but the D has more or less departed by then. So overall, we're getting this kind of F minor-y feel, but with an E flat to it. F minor 7, slightly softer maybe, but a little more complex, and yeah, with a Dorian flavor. Nice stuff. Let's carry on.
Walking in my sleep, like the naked trees, will they wake up again? Do they sleep? Do they dream?
Yeah, one of the more straightforward verse shapes. We've got basically 4 main sections. Walking in my sleep, that's for number 1. Like the naked dreams, that's our second. Will they wake up again? Third. Do they sleep? Do they dream? Is our 4th. And it's kind of split into 2, that last one, but they have a lot in common. The first 2 have the same kind of rhythm, da 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 da, with a slight difference in the first one, walking in my sleep. So it's that sort of delayed return to the note of the chord, which we get from time to time. This sort of, it's almost like a suspension, but we haven't had a chord change here. Been mainly over that F minor the whole time. We've got the Dorian note straight away here. So not shying away from that really special feeling that note gives us there. Okay, the other note in Dorian that gives us a little bit quiver is the 2. Well, the 2 and the flat 3, really the flat 3, I guess. So those are that's where we have our tritone, or our sort of special interval. So we've got that one already. We haven't got the other one just yet. It's not really that, is it? It's I think. Let's just hear it again.
In my sleep, like the naked trees.
Yeah. Dee, 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 dee. Which is interesting because it would be easy to go dee, 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 dee. And that would be much more straightforward, but here we come up one way and we come down another way. Different contour, but same rhythm as the first one. So the first one, da, 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 is this kind of descending wave, and this one is more of a sort of mountain shape, like this one. Da, 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 da. Okay, going up, and then it comes a little down from the top. It stays pretty high. But this one comes in a little bit early. The others have come in straight on the first beat, and this one comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, ba da da at the beginning. It still has a little bit of a weight on that first beat. Will they wake up again? But it's it's very weighted towards that. We've kind of got an interesting rhythm in this one, similar to Lucky, which had moments in it where I wasn't sure to give them triplets or to make them a sort of complicated dotted semiquaver kind of thing. Here seems pretty unequivocal that we have triplets, but we don't have them to begin with. Walking in my sleep, that's very da 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 da. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1, and here it's going 1 2 3 4 1. Oh, sorry, not like that. 1 2 3 4. Will they da 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 da. Okay, so that's suddenly turning it into 1 2 3 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. That might just be my interpretation, but it's close enough to that I think that's reasonable. But it happens kind of on this verse only, as we will see as we get to the other ones. It's not quite as clear on those ones, or maybe it's maybe it's just that I've given 2 interpretations here. Either way, make up your own mind about that. Interesting how it doesn't have the same da 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 in this second set of things, though. They have much more of a flowing rhythm and kind of more of a flowing shape as well. They're mainly scalar, whereas the other ones have a few small jumps in them. Da 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 da. Okay, a little bit of a reminiscence of that first one at the end there. Da da da. It's kind of like da da da. So there's a connection there. And overall, those last two, they make this mountain, don't they? Ba da ba 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 da ba ba da ba. Okay, so we go up the mountain and come down. All right, cool. Next one.
Do they dream? Feel it as the wind strokes my skin. I am moved by the chill. Hear the winter birds sing.
Pardon me. Similar, but not the same. Similar, but not the same. Most importantly, we've got harmony vocals, haven't we? Okay. Still the melody on the top, but we have a lower, which is nice. Straightforward thirds, all locked together, and then in this next part, strokes my skin, which is not the same melody. It's closer to Will They Wake Up Again, really, there, but it's not even that. It's its own thing. And the rhythm is closer to the first half, isn't it? Interestingly, or maybe not, interestingly, the slower rhythm, the suspension moment has moved to this second one in this second verse rather than being in the first. Feel it as the wind, not feel it as the wind, right? Doesn't do that this time, but it just goes strokes my skin, not strokes my skin. Get the idea? So we've moved where that that expectation is to a different place, and therefore outfoxed our expectations. Yeah, so it's beautiful now. It's full triads here. The melody on the bottom there, with a third above and a fifth above, and you get that Dorian note again there on the way up and the way down. Simple melody line, but augmented really impressively by all of those moving together in that beautiful chordal manner. And then they just disappear while the melody carries on, does something very similar to the first time on I Am Moved by the Chill, Hear the Winter Bird Sing. Although Hear the Winter Bird Sing, it sort of seems like it's going to do the same to begin with hear being the same as do. Hear the wind, but then instead of hear the wind, it stays up to bird sing. What chords have we got in this section? I haven't actually been talking about them. There's some interesting things going on in the background here. The chords mainly are what the lowest note gives us. Okay, they give us an F minor for those first two bars. Then A flat major, the 3 chord. Okay, so that's like our relative major, isn't it? So it really feels like a lifting in that second half. And then the 7 chord. Okay, so you know, we've heard all these before, but I don't think we've had a song which has just used those. We've got, yeah, about as much of that minor as we have of the other two. Now, we've not got any of those chords using that Dorian 6th at the moment. Not that we need them, but we do have one using the flat 3. yeah, I don't know, it gives us quite a bright kind of feel at the end there, a very different feel to the beginning, although with that Dorian sixth it has this odd sort of golden hour sort of feel, to me at least. We've still got this going on to begin with, and then it does disappear. Yeah, we've got this chord with the just in the background there for a moment, and then yeah, that gives us the 3 and the 7, and then in the second time we have this sort of extra melody just in the background. It's not too important, but let's just see if we can hear it this time. Yeah. Yeah, it's very inconspicuous, not giving us a lot. How do those notes fit with the chords then? Well, it's interesting we started on the E flat because that's the 7 of the chord, so it's not one of our natural notes, it's an extension, and then we do get an emphasis on the 6 there, which is fun, and finally we resolve. The first time round we go, so that second part is much more in with the chord. Our main notes that we wait on are the chord notes, the F and the C, and that's fine. In our next part, well, fits very nicely, and then we wait for a while on a non-chord note, but it's a comfortable one. It's not a heavy insults to the chord. It's not a clash or anything like that. But then, what's that again? Yeah, it is that one. That's not a chord note. Adding the 9 there quite heavily. So we added the 9 in this chord, and we added a 9 here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like that's like a 1,000-yard stare chord, or just looking out to the horizon, waiting for the ship to come in kind of chord? The second time round, though, that chord is treated differently with the melody, as is that second half of the F major. We get still, but then we get that harmony part, don't we? And so we stop for a moment with that bass note and a whole G minor chord sat on top of the F before it resolves. So that's a lot more sort of challenging or imposing in its way. It doesn't feel uncomfortable really. Everything's still in key, but it's like, oh, that's something. And then, well, after this is fun because it starts on the chord 3rd, and if we'd gone hear the winter bird sing, then it would have been much more comfortable. But instead, winter bird sing, it goes up out of the comfortable resonance to the suspended 4th there, before then coming down to the root note of the chord and finishing quite comfortably. Overall, we've not got our classic sort of what's the word, Aurora isms for the melody here. It's pretty comfortable. It's got quite a big range already. We've basically covered over an octave in these first 2 bits, which is more than we normally do. But yeah, there's no odd anticipations. There's not too much melismatic singing. There's a little on my and strokes, so that part does really stick out for a good reason. And Winterbird as well. We get a bit more on there. But we are about to smash it out of the park in terms of melismas. Let's listen to this. So here we have back to our big triads. Now I can't possibly play this, but that's what's happening, and then they switch. So occasionally we get these Aurora vocal harmonies where there's 3 singers. That's great, and they're always either arranged in essentially 1, 3, 5 order. So we have the lowest note being the root note of the chord, or they can be in this order. So we have the middle note there, being the root note of the chord, with the lower and the above. Okay, and they can also be in this order. Okay, so there we have the root note as the top note, with the below still, and the also below. Okay, this kind of runs through a couple of different positions. So we start in our root position here. Okay, but then we kind of want this melody line to come through. Now this melody line is in the middle, really. That's our melody line. Okay, so if we want this to go with that, we need to change position. We could take that chord shape down, but then we would have to do, what would we have to do? We'd have to do, no, not that. Yeah, if we were in Dorian still, we'd have to do that. And that maybe adds a little too much of a different colour to this, whereas keeping the same 2 chords going, which is F and E flat major, the 1 and the 7, which is what we can do when we move down there, avoids us adding lots of crazy colours. It keeps it all kind of the same thing. Maybe simple is best for doing an impression of whatever bird a winter bird is. And then we don't go all the way down to this one, although we could have probably. We could have gone, yeah, from there. But it sort of splits apart. The melody goes down there, and the lower harmony goes with it. Yeah, like that. But the higher harmony doesn't come. It goes and stays up there. So we get yeah. Do you get that? So from here. Oh, and it's only 1 there actually, isn't it? And then we go to. So that later one feels a little lighter. It doesn't feel quite as thick and heavy as we get to the later part there. Although the next time it comes, this doesn't happen because the melody doesn't go down. It goes da 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 da, and it comes back up. So then we stay in our triads. Okay, so it still feels thick that second time. That's nice, isn't it? It's nice, and also it's so fast, like fluttering of wings, maybe. I don't know. It's really a very bold, big melisma to be doing, and it basically takes the whole place of the pre-chorus. We don't have a conventional pre-chorus here. We have just this. Hear the winter bird sing. Ah, ah, ah. Yeah. Anyone know what bird call that is? Do let me know. And then we get something entirely different. Just before we go on to that, let's talk about what we've got going on underneath. We've actually got, as we might expect, an F to hold to begin with. And then, very subtly, we get an E flat going down. So that E flat is fighting against what the main chord here, the F, it's sort of pulling us down to where we're going. And where are we going? Where are we going? Okay, wow, much thicker texture, isn't it? And we've got a whole new chord sequence. We haven't had this one before. It's really, really nice. We've not had the 6 in this song before, and more importantly, we've been in Dorian up till this point. So our 6, should we have had it, would have been a weird chord, like that, a diminished chord. But this is suddenly a sudden change after a section which didn't really give us any of that Dorian note. It would be the Dorian note. We don't get it. We go straight into the aeolian mode with a change of mode, a change of tonal setting, but not a change of tonal center. Get the idea? There it is, our 6 chord. Our 4 chord, also not had that one. And again, in Dorian, that would be a major chord. So we're really going straight in with the 2 most dramatic chords against the section that we've just come from. And then we do get to our F, but doesn't it feel darker this time? It does not feel as bright and clear as it did in the Dorian section. And even the E flat, which feels like a release from those 2, from those 3 chords, it still doesn't quite carry the brightness it did in the previous section. So it's curious how these things change just from the change of one note, or just from the presence of one different note. It's really, really fun. That's actually only half of the chorus here. The chorus is quite a long one. We've got so many parts, man. I really went overboard here. The main accompaniment figure is this kind of, and then all the way up to that C. It's doing these arpeggiated things, and then it does a slightly different one at the end. Okay, and then we get a very similar thing, the next thing, but just for that next chord. But this one actually doesn't match the D flat chord there. That one matches much nicer. And then well, that one's interesting, isn't it? Because that would match if you'd gone back to the first set. But we don't. We keep that B flat from the previous chord, so it feels like a sus4 chord. Now the A minor, the minor A flat does come in some other parts, but we've got that added 11 there. Then we've got an added note passing through from time to time in that particular part, and then and we get this kind of extra little bit on the end there, which is, it's just a nice little turnaround bit. I don't think it means too much melodically. It's nice though to have that constant movement of the arpeggios there, and again it's 3s, and 3s don't fit very nicely into our 4. So we have that extra breath moment at the end of each of these. Fun thing though, really nice. We've also got a few extra notes here, just in some synth or whatever. Okay, giving us some nice movement there. So there's the A flat, that with the F makes it so sad sounding. We do have some other things coming, but let's talk more about the melody here then. So we've got that da 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 da. Well, the da 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 from our first bit, haven't we? Da 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 da. which is also the same one we had in Lucky. I really link Lucky and Winterbird. I think they've got a lot of similar features. We go away from it straight away though, da da da, because we get ways frozen, and then the rhythm, while it is kind of the same the second time, I can see the air I breathe, we've got that slight suspension over the bar. I can see, yeah, I can see the air I breathe, yeah. So it doesn't quite have the same feel because we don't come straight on the beat with tears the second time. I can see, we come later, but it does have a lot of the same features. It's this mainly sort of mountain contour, isn't it? Da 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 da. We do come back up the first time, we don't do that the second time, and then we get a different set of things the next part. That's no harmony, but then we do get harmony on the next bit. Very straightforward melody, very different to the ones we've heard in the rest of this song so far. All of the melodies have been really moving and going up and down a lot. This is sticking on 2 notes. Got my fingers painting pictures on the glass inside of me, and it really doesn't care what chord it is at all either. There we've got suspensions, got my fingers, resolve, but then they keep going in that same kind of way to the non-resolved, back to the resolved, and then as we change to the E flat chord, the same 2 notes actually are now resolved, but they keep going to the other ones, the ones which were resolved in the previous chord, but then they do finally finish on a resolution there. But interesting how they get that change around. So even though they're very similar phrases with the same 2 notes being used in both parts, because we have a different root note, a different chord all around, the way they sit, whether they feel uncomfortable or not, is oh wow, sudden big bang from my microphone. I apologize, I don't know what caused it. But yeah, they sit very differently depending on what chord they're on. That's, basically how chords and melodies work. Do we need to say anything about the first one? Yeah, this melody would work sort of similarly to the first ones over an F chord. It would feel very akin with those, but over the D flat chord, it's very differently sat. The tears is our note from the chord, but that's actually the only one here that is in the chord. That's a really nice moment moving, because it could go tears are always frozen, and then it would be just pentatonic, but we use that very meaningful note of the minor there, the 2. Tears are always frozen, and we just do it one moment. It's just well chosen instead of the basic tears are always frozen, tears are always frozen. Just that smidgen lower makes a huge difference. You could go Phrygian as well, getting away from the subject. Tears are always frozen. But that might get us into another place that we don't want to be. Tears are always frozen. Yeah, really nice. Same thing on the next one, but again it's on a different chord. I can see. That's our note that fits again. The F in both of these chords fits both of the chords in different ways, but it still fits. Whereas the other notes, the air I breathe, all of those don't. And we come to rest on the 9 of the chord there. Not that one though. Yeah, that chord. Ooh, powerful, isn't it? Yeah. And then we've talked about that next half. But what happens in the second half of the chorus? Okay, same chords, very different melody. Now we still have that kind of rhythm, the da da da. We still have that slightly more syncopated with the frozen river, right? But very similar rhythm. But now we've gone a whole lot higher. We were here before, and we actually start there, lay me by, and we go straight up with some higher harmonies. The higher harmonies are actually quite quiet here, but they are there. And this is more like the one that we ended on, isn't it? Got my fingers painting pictures. Where are we? By the frozen river. Very, very similar. Different rhythm, but same notes actually. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, that's not the harmonies we have there. It's that. Yeah. So the melody is the lower one. Got my fingers, and we got my fingers painting pictures over there, and this is by the frozen river in the harmony. By the frozen river as the main melody. Yeah, so we're back in those straightforward thirds. How do those fit over this D flat chord? Well, in a different way, because in the previous chords they were both resolved, or they were not. Neither were resolved. Here we're actually taking it in turns, so we get there. That's not a resolution. Is the resolution. So when we go river, we've come to a resolution, whereas the other one, that's actually the root note of the chord. So when we go river, we're sort of extending the chord and making it not quite as stable as it once was. Where the boats, where the boats, where the boats, where the boats. Yeah, that's what we've got next. Very similar. Lay me by where the boats, but then we don't have the boats have passed me by. We don't have that rhythm. We do something slightly different. We go a little bit higher, passed me by, and then this big slide from one of the voices down to an F, but then the other just goes down one note. Yeah, so they end up a slightly different relationship there, but otherwise they were thirds all the time. How does this fit over the B flat chord, B flat minor? No. Yeah, no, it's not there, is it? It's there. Well, when we get down to those last two notes, it's very comfortable and fits with the chord. To be honest, that fits with the chord at the beginning, so these ones seem a little more comfortable over it than the By the Frozen River. I don't know if you can feel that. Tell me if you can. All I need is to remember. So this is very similar to Got My Fingers Painting Pictures, isn't it? So we've got a lot of connection between the last set of melodies here. Like if we cut the second half into two different sections, those have both got da 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 going from A to B on notes. That's the same as the second half of the first section. But interestingly, the first half of the first section does something kind of different, and it does have the da da da, but that's as close as we get to what we've got in this last section. All I need is to remember. Lots more use of that G there, isn't it? gets to almost a James Bondy level of things. And then da 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 da. Yeah, some kind of dead note there. Feel alive. I don't know. It seems to cut out. I don't think it goes feel alive, but it might do. Is same as lay me by or where the birds. So all three out of the 4 in this last half of the chorus have the same beginning, and they have the same rhythm, but then we get much more melisma on Feel Alive and a slightly different contour as well. Yeah, interesting. I really like that. All I need is to remember inversion or variation on Got My Fingers Painting Pictures. It really is good. And then we have this brief moment where we go basically back to the beginning. We get that wah, 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 kind of thing again, and we get a few piano notes before we come back in with the verse. We don't have the scratchy stuff though, so it does feel a lot blander of atmosphere, a lot more sort of open world, I guess, as well. What's going on in this next verse then? Okay, so this one, there's only one verse and it joins straight into the pre-chorus. There's not even a breath. Oh, sorry, not those notes. Lake. I don't think there's a K at the end there. It probably morphs into an R. Something like that. Very similar though to the second verse from beginning. We've got a bit of a melisma there. Silent days. Okay, slightly different rhythm. It's not dum ba dum ba dum ba 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 dum bum. Yeah, but then violent. Is it violent, or is it is it violent or violent? I'm not sure, but I seem to have decided it's violent shades. Again, very similar, same contour. The only thing is we don't go when, we go in a dream by the lake. So that's simpler, less melismatic, less emphasis then on the sort of flutteriness of the winter bird this time. The lake maybe though shimmering in the same way as the bird. We go whoa. Yes, and I've written in something that happens here. We do still have the harmony over the top. I've just split it up because this line goes straight into that thing, and this one goes da 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 da. No, it doesn't. Da 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 da. Okay, so we get this melisma in the middle. Yeah, very, very fast. Kind of things that Aurora's really good at. And then another chorus. I think this one broadly is the same. We're going 139 and 152. Let's just check if there are any extras. No, not even any extras in the accompaniment really. So maybe that bar where things just go splitting the verse and the chorus is good because it gives us some time to get back into our Dorian feel, gives us a bit of a blank canvas to stick that on rather than our aeolian feel in the chorus. And we've got, yeah, same thing going on in the second chorus. And then sigh. Yeah, so this is coming in with that scratchy thing from the beginning, right? We have a sigh and a hey. Now, this is very open texture with not much going on. Let's hear it.
Rest against my pillow like the aging winter sun.
I think there is an extra voice there just for a brief moment on pillow. I think there's a hey, just extending that note, but it's the same note as pillow. So I haven't written it in, and it does disappear very quickly. The main thing is we've just got hey, that one F holding for the whole thing, well, coming up till aging and then disappearing for winter sun. What's our melody doing here? Okay, well there's our Dorian note. We've actually got basically every note. We've got we've even got the 2 and the flat 3. Yeah, we do have every note of the scale here. I normally don't really like melodies that do that, and this is no exception. There's too many notes for not enough content, I think, here. In my opinion. You can have a different opinion, but why I think this is because this is not a very complicated line. We've not got much going on in the rhythm. In fact, we've got less than every other section. We've still got da 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 one time, so our rhythmic motif that has united quite a lot of these sections is still here in a slightly different place in the bar, but still here, da 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 da, and that's the same melody that we get at the beginning. So that I don't have much problem with. I quite like that in general. But then this beginning part, it just feels like it's too much. If it kept maybe to a fewer notes, maybe it would be more boring, but maybe it would be more appropriate to the words. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not here to be a taste maker. Just have a feel about that yourself. And yeah, it's different to the others because it is just constantly moving and going up and down, sometimes with a little bit of a wave. But yeah, really da 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 da. Nice mountain there. Da 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 da. Okay, so yeah, all against this F, which is interesting because while we start quite nice, quite quickly go to notes that don't sit so nicely with that. So we go. We do a note higher than it and a note lower than it. And then it disappears. And then we get another hey.
Only wake each morning to remember that short gun.
Yeah, so there we can hear more voices coming in. We get the hey, hey, hey. So we get all these 3 voices on all notes next to each other. F, G, and E flat. Do, do, do. Da, 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 da. We get all those. So this is not functioning like our harmony does normally. We get 3 notes right next to each other there. And you can hear them beating together at the end. I think it's partially artificial, so it's going to be something as a result of the production, but you can hear because they're hard to resonate together because they're so close together. Can you hear that kind of shimmer going on with those voices? We also get harmony on that main melody, and it's slightly different at the end. A little bit more of the Dorian note. Yeah, the harmony is basically sort of keeping to 2 main chords. One is the F chord, so we get that there, we get that there, and we get it there. And then the other is an E flat chord, or maybe a C minor 7 chord, but either way, mostly the same notes. And we get that there, and well, we don't get it there. We get we get that instead, and then it goes to full fourths, strange ending. Yeah, slightly more harsh, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, the feeling of this song, I get coldness. So the wintry nature of it is very good, but I also get just like quite an intense variation in whether the melody is really emotionally sung, really passionately sung, or really coldly sung. And I feel like this section is a little cold in comparison to the chorus, for instance.
Only wake each morning to remember that you're gone.
Yeah. Remember that you're gone. Remember that you're gone. Okay. And our last one.
So I drift away again to where I belong.
Similar, isn't it? Similar. The harmony notes. Hey, hey, hey. Again, 3 notes right next to each other. They can't work together. But we've still got that F riding us through, that tonic center. Do, 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 do. We've lost the harmony part here, so we're already disappearing from what we had. Do, 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 do. Interesting variation here, because it goes lower. Winter I belong. And as well as that, we've lost the Dorian note, so it comes across a little harsher, maybe a little simpler, because now we only have 6 rather than 7 notes of the key, of the scale, of the mode. Da, 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 and it ends on that sort of downbeat ending. Na 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 is similar, but this winter I belong could be this nice bright ending, but winter I belong sort of has a little more weight to it, a little sadder. That's my opinion, I suppose. Yeah, we get then this chord, this F-7 chord coming in slowly after that, and then what happens? Oh, actually, I didn't notice that. Let's hear that again.
So I drift away again to where I belong.
There's actually another voice in the background that I haven't notated, but we are going back to our pre-chorus now. So very similar stuff to our beginning. But let's hear that extra voice in the background going.
Away again to where I belong.
That's so weird. It's not in with the others. The others are going. And if anything, it could easily be an extra one there, and they could be moving together, but it seems to be out of time with it, and we almost get this kind of thing where they're going in opposite directions at the same time. That's really weird. I didn't notice it at all before. I wish I had. I'd like to notate it more, but yeah, the main thing is these harmonies. There's a little bit of a kicker on that last one. Yeah, just in the left here. There's an extra note just at the end there. That one, and then we get the same, and we get the. Yeah, I have notated this at least. I think it's actually up an octave from that. I'm not entirely sure that's fully correct, but yeah. So that goes, yeah, something like that, leading us into then this this third chorus. But doesn't come straight away. We get some more R's first. And there's even more in the accompaniment as well. So yeah, we get these things. Piano doing the same thing as the synth was doing to begin with. Oh wow, that did not transfer. Yeah, something slightly different there. Yeah, ba da 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 da, ba da da ba da da ba da da ba da ba da da ba da ba da da ba da ba da ba. Okay, so really similar to the other one. And well, that's not coming all the way this time. We can't quite hear that through the mist. We've got a slightly different version this time, which is just da 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 da. Okay, so it's not quite fighting through the texture here. The da 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 da's are still here, and those are basically the same as we had before, but we're missing that lowest one. Da 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 da. That either isn't there or doesn't come through such that I can hear it. We do have this extra note though, this long held, which slides up halfway through. So for that 6 chord, which is a bold added 7 to the 9 there, sliding to the 11 to a comfortable note here, and then neither of those are in that chord, but they are in our root F chord, so that's probably what they're going for. Ah, lovely. And that happens a lot, as you can see by these timestamps. We've basically got 3 repetitions of that, 2 repetitions in between some of those, and finishing of something that does almost exactly the same, just doesn't have that last note going up to that F. But yeah, really similar stuff coming up, just with our main melody stuff. So yeah, that's starting at 316, but before that we've got a 249 melody here, which is our beginning melody. Our 302 is here, that's our second melody, and then yeah, at 316 we get these other things. Okay, good, let's hear it. 316, we know how the chorus goes. I really don't know why it has so much problem with me looking at the music, but whatever. So this is very similar to our normal melody, maybe slightly simpler sung, but also we've got thirds, well, almost. Yeah, a mixture of thirds and fourths, close intervals anyway. Let's not read too much into those anymore. I'm bored of talking about the difference between thirds and fourths. It doesn't really make much difference, does it? But yeah, they're moving together in the same direction. The reason that they wouldn't just keep thirds here is because that third doesn't, it carries with it a burden of something not being with the chord. Tears are always frozen, and it you know, it doesn't fit so well. Tears are always frozen. That's, you know, the major 7. We've already got that held in another part, so it makes sense to bolster that part instead of adding something slightly more uncomfortable. Same kind of thing here. We could go frozen. Tears are always frozen, and that would extend some dissonances. I don't know if it's necessary. whereas frozen is comfortable. It's more in key, in chord. But yeah, instead of going I can see the air I breathe, we get this melisma instead, which is very similar to that higher melody line. It just doesn't go up at the end. So it's still doing the same thing as the I can see the air I breathe, which didn't come up at the end either, but it's doing it as a continuation of the top harmony line instead of the main melody line. So that's interesting. And then we get a repetition of those two parts with a different melisma, which I kind of prefer. It, you know, I don't know, we don't often get sort of a feel of improvisation in Aurora's music, but this feels like it could have just been made up on the spot. There's nothing in the melody written heretofore in this song which suggests that kind of shape. So I guess it's sort of like the dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, isn't it? But it's going up. It's sort of like that, but it still doesn't really have any precedence. So it's a little nice extra moment there of something different. And then pretty much the same. But the drums have dropped out, haven't they? We just get those clear piano notes, these ones. Just thirds there, with that one shaky note over the top. Artificially shaky, but nonetheless really nice. And then unexpectedly,
all I need is to remember how it was to feel alive. I need to remember how it was to feel alive.
Quite a change of feel for the end here. All I need. And then we just get those two notes. We've been in F the whole time. This feels like a moment of A flat even. Now we don't have the third there, so it doesn't feel huge and warm all of a sudden. It's just these two notes. And then I still feel alive. We get an added note on there. So even then, when it feels like it's gone back to the F, we don't get the F minor chord. It doesn't feel as resolved as it did before. It's so open, and then I need. We do get the C there for a moment, giving us the third of the chord. Yeah. So that F chord, but with an added or suspended 2 really. No third there. Feels very stark, very confrontational, in quite a downbeat and sad way. Really interesting choice of how to end this. We've got our similar kind of feeling. Need is to remember. Okay, so we've had that. And we've had those words before, but now we don't have the dee 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 or the dee 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 dee. We don't have any of that floweriness. We just have straight notes that then move to some other straight notes. So it feels a lot more confrontational, a lot less passionate, and a lot more in your face. It's really curious and sad way to end a song. Alright, fun. That I do really like that one, and I really like how it goes with Lucky as well. They share so many features, but they are very different. Let's see where it's going to end up on the board. See, now I have changed things around here a little. We've got a new rhythm section, and I have put everything in where it deserves to go in rhythm. Runaway deserves to win rhythm at the moment because it actually uses 2 different meters, and it is the only one so far to do anything like that. that's exciting. Murder Song comes second because it has the overlapping melodies with the quite syncopated rhythm in the chorus, even though the rhythm of sort of the verse section is really not that interesting, and the rhythm of the bridge isn't that interesting, but because the rhythm of that main hook section is so good, that's where it's going. And yeah, feel free to ask me about the other ones if you really want, but we're going to be blasting some things off the bottom here. Now, instrumentation wise, I think this one is pretty solid. We've got some really nice tinkly pianos, we've got some very good if electronic drums, we've got a lot of really well done voices, so I think this one's going almost to the top, if not in fact I think it is the top in instrumentation so far. It doesn't have anything that's as otherworldly as Murder Song, but I think that is splitting hairs. I think the overall ensemble is really a lot more interesting, and that's also true of the texture, which is oh yeah, really impressive on this song. So let's just make the space first, and then we will yeah, say goodbye to, was it Conqueror at the bottom there? Let's just, oh no, it was in boxes. Bye bye in boxes. Worst instrumentation ever. Let's get rid of Puppet here. Yeah, the texture is really wonderful. I'd argue maybe Murder Song's texture overall does have more amazing things about it, but it's not as consistent. The choruses of Murder Song just don't sound very, no, sorry, I don't mean choruses, I mean the verses. The verses of Murder Song don't sound great. Texturally, there's just not that much going on. The hook sections are really wonderful. And well, I've had an argument or a dissenting opinion from Pandemonium about the texture in the bridge, which I like it being distorted and aggressive and noisy, but they don't. So well, it's just not the best, is it? Now, we still don't have Murder Song levels of structure here. We do have a good structure because we have that unexpected coda at the end. Otherwise, though, it's almost paint by the numbers. The pre-chorus is a little different because it's our hook. It's quite short. We've also got a shorter verse the second time, and we've got the chorus going into the pre-chorus. Sorry, the bridge going into the pre-chorus, and then the pre-chorus continuing on into the chorus that last time. So I think it's pretty strong. I think it is better than Understars actually. So let's move Understars down. I do like Understars' structure a lot, and the power of it is that extended bridge. But I think the first part of Understars' bridge is not interesting enough. That's how I feel about that. Bye Bye Awakening. Oh, and Bye Bye Puppet in the previous one. Harmony. Well, the harmony's pretty powerful here. We have two main chord sequences, don't we? And then we have that unusual cluster harmony system in the bridge, and I like all of that. I like how we've got two different modes. I think we're pretty strong here. Whether we're better than Little Boy in the Grass. Little Boy in the Grass doesn't make as much of the Dorian mode. It is there, but it's not as powerfully. In fact, the aeolian mode is not very much used in that at all, as far as I can remember. So I'm going to put that lower. Yeah, this one's really sweeping the board pretty well. I'm still putting Murder Song higher because it has chromatic harmony, which this doesn't have. Melody wise, I think it's pretty good melody, but yeah, I've already expressed one disagreement I have with it, and I think that continues. I think I really like that it's got a two-part chorus, which maybe I should have factored in structure. Come on, it's second, it's fine. It's not as good as Murder Song structure, but yeah, I don't know, that it's really only that bridge that I have a gripe with in terms of melody. Do we put it higher than Murder Song? Well, no, because Murder Song's hooks, melodies are just wonderful. Do we put it higher than Little Boy in the Grass? I would say no, actually. I think Little Boy in the Grass's melodies are simpler, but more well constructed and more emotive in every section. So I think it would be rude to put it higher than Little Boy in the Grass. And I think, to be honest, Runaway's melodies are better. So I think we're going below Understars. And even that is a little bit contentious. Sorry, above Understars. Yeah, I think that's the right place for it though. Rhythm-wise, we do have some fun rhythm in the chorus, lots of hi-hat and stuff, and we've got those threes against the beat, which is nice. The rhythm of the melody is pretty straightforward. Yeah, I would not say rhythm is the strong point here. So what are we gonna do? Inboxes has more fun in its rhythm. Conqueror has a strong rhythm, doesn't it? So maybe again we're pushing Understars down, because Understars doesn't have that much going on in the rhythm. Yeah. All right. Bye Bye Awakening. Yeah, Puppet and Awakening not going to be long on this list, I imagine. Right. Then let's just fill these bits with blue. And right, with our trusty oil brush. What are we writing again? Winterbird. Oh, not in blue. Let's write in orange. Guess we could do a different colour for each album. Maybe that might make some sense. Wow, okay, went rogue at the end there. Let's copy and paste that. It looks a bit like a bird though, doesn't it, that D? Dissenting opinions welcome. Top in texture, top in instrumentation. It won't be forever, but it definitely is of these earlier ones. Oh wow, I don't know what I've done there. Let's try that again. Yeah, hard to get in there. This is probably the most exciting bit of everything. Who's looking forward to the next song? Is it I Went Too Far next? Not one of my favourites. Probably not going to do massive numbers on this top 10 set, but yeah, it's certainly on the first album. That is something I can say about it. I think it does have a curiosity actually in the harmony. Depending on how you think about it, how you look at it, it actually doesn't really go to the one ever. Anyway, we'll get to that at some other point, probably the end of the week. Okay, but there we are, top 10's Aurora. Let's just end on a normal screen. Yeah, that was fun, nice one. Oh yeah, talking straight into the mic does make a difference, doesn't it? Hi. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that this new format is not too off-putting for you. Having split it during the week makes it slightly easier for me to plan. And yeah, we're gonna, and to be honest, probably allows me to speak a little more lengthy or as much as I need to on each of these. Stops me sort of skimping on the second one, which there's always a chance I might do. But I guess it also means that it's harder to make side-by-side comparisons between the two. But you know, swings and roundabouts. Let me know if there's any music you want me to have a look at. I'm still planning to try and get Maddie Ashman done this week, because I think it's really worth talking about. But we will see. Have a nice life and a nice day and a nice everything.